First question I want to ask you is exactly about your background. Where did you grow up? What kind of background would you say you have as far as, are you from a big family, small family? Let's start there.
That's going way back. So my background is I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, Flatbush to be exact. I have two siblings, older sister, younger sister. And educationally, my background is yeshiva background, as in the yeshiva system, I guess, from time I was 3 years old or 4 until I was about 33 or 34. So we're talking about the 30-year stint.
How did you end up being till 34, right? Because most of the time people think education, they think like that usually brings them to around 25 when they usually are in college, about like figuring themselves out. So how did that bring you to 34 years old?
So after high school and then post-high school, it's called Beis Medrash, I studied in Israel for 2.5 years. I came back to America and I studied in Beis Medrash Gavoa, BMG in Lakewood, for about 8 years. Now, early on in those 8 years, I got married. So as a married person, I was still studying there. I moved out to a kollel, which is a postgraduate, or not even sure how you would describe it, or a binnacle studies group. And we moved to Manalapan. Manalapan is about a half hour north of Lakewood. It's a town in New Jersey. And I was in kollel there for 3 years. And after that stint, I ended up in Muncie, or rather Chestnut Ridge, New York. And so that was, I guess, the end of my yeshiva career through the yeshiva system.
Amazing. As far as I know, typically people migrate from BMG in that area typically like when they get married, right? I've even heard it as a thing, is like when you're ready to start like going out shidduchim and stuff, that's when you go to BMG. When I went to yeshiva in Lakewood, I would hear that all the time. And our chavrusa at Night Seder was with chavrusas from guys from BMG. So it's so interesting. I had no idea that you were there. We might have even crossed paths.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Then after your time spent with a pretty intensive program, this Beis Medrash program, right? You're spending like 10, 12 hours plus a day in intensive learning with a big group of people. Can you describe the feeling of having Torah studies be your almost like your career and your main focus? It's your job, so to speak. Like you're being paid to sit and learn, and the camaraderie that comes along with that.
Yeah, simply put, it was the best thing possible, and I would hope to say I treasured every moment. Of course, that's not really realistic. It's hard. Sometimes you lose sight of what you have. But it was definitely a period of time that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I treasured it.
Amazing. So my next question, this goes along with, I've heard you say that if you could, you would spend all your days just learning Torah. My next question is, what does your Torah life and your life as an observant Jew, because the second I look at you, I can just tell you are from Jew, right? So what values can someone, based on that, expect that you bring to your life and role in business?
I'm sure there's a lot there, but what comes to mind immediately are the things that I feel I bring to the table in a business transaction, which is the concept of critical thinking and being able to cut through the fluff, being able to not be impressed by things other companies are doing or things that others are suggesting, and let's just focus intensely on you and what are your needs and where you're trying to go. Those are skills that you wouldn't call them religious skills per se, but there's definitely an undercurrent to that. First of all, is the study of Torah, which is almost purely just critical thinking. That's what you're doing. You're applying your brains and breaking it down and starting again when that doesn't work. But even religious life is very much about not going against the grain just for the fun of it, but going against the grain if that's what the truth calls for. And sitting down with a prospect or sitting down with a client, I imagine that the client would see that reflected in what I'm trying to bring to the table, which is, let's clear out the mess, let's clear out the clutter, let's just focus on what's the kernel of truth, what is really necessary, and see where that takes us.
Right. In Hebrew, that's what they would call like tachlis, to get down to tachlis and speak about like let's get down to the nitty gritty. And then you also described like going against the grain as a value of truth. When interacting with you, people could always expect a serious dedication to truth and also kind of a a straightforward approach in, like you called it, clearing out the garbage, like getting down to topless and talking about like what's relevant, and let's not waste our time. So I love that, and I could definitely agree is that I've definitely experienced that in my when talking to you. It's always straightforward, real, and actual, like something actual that I can walk away with. I want to go into how did someone who began their kick off into their career, like after you made your move away from the Torah studies being an all-day thing and incorporating more business into your life, how did you discover that you are the guy to speak to when it comes to business strategy?
Yeah, so after leaving Cole, I held a couple of positions in different companies. I've worked for 3 companies in all, and for some reason, I don't attribute this to anything anything special or incredible. I gravitated towards the marketing end of things. It was something that caught my attention, caught my interest. It was something that I felt I could be productive in. And my first job was actually, I was working for a company that sold on Amazon. And even before I got the job, I interviewed for the job, and I figured, listen, I might end up working for this company that sells on Amazon. Amazon is about selling, and selling probably has something to do with marketing. So I'm going to read up about marketing. So I bought my first book about business or marketing. It's called The Irresistible Offer by Mark Joyner. And that book blew me away. I loved the concepts that he was presenting. I found out later that he's considered the father of Google Ads, and he's a really big guy. But for me, it was just a cool book that had good reviews. And what I didn't understand at the time was that Amazon marketing has nothing to do with real life marketing for many different reasons. But that was amazing to me as well. I was reading up about marketing, and then I came to something which, if I thought Amazon has to do with marketing, I'm sure there are millions of other people that think that as well. And I saw that immediately that's not the case. And Amazon is a whole different animal, and you have to deal with it differently. And that was really a theme that kept on coming up, which is that people do one thing and, it just doesn't really make any sense. Really, you should be doing something completely different. As a quick example, the types of advertisements that we see big name brands doing is very rarely the thing that a small business should be doing. Nike puts up billboards all over New York State. You could borrow $100 million and do the same thing, but it'll probably put most businesses bankrupt before it accomplishes anything for them. So in this space that I was exploring, which was marketing, I saw a lot of this, I saw a lot of bad moves being done, and things that if strategy hadn't been employed, or even if the right questions had been asked, things would have moved to a different direction. So that really helped me build up the skills that I was going to use later on in my own business. We're just looking at the picture and seeing what's not working, or what we could predict is not going to work, and try to find a better way forward.
That's echoing back to the what's the truth and what is actually going to work. It brings that all into play, is to look at a business and be able to just analyze it critically and be able to use some finesse. To some minds like yours, a situation like you could analyze and see what a company is doing wrong. Like, are you trying to make billboards in New York City a thing for your carpet cleaning business? Like, maybe that's not, and a mind like yours would pick up on that right away based on your background and the type of trainings and experience that you've given yourself. That might come off as like almost like a duh thing for you, but really not. Like so many of the business owners that we interact with, it's really not obvious for them. The next thing I want to segue into has to do with what's not obvious for people. You have built up a very strong track record of being able to help people discover different revenues that they're just completely missing out on, and their messaging that they might just like be even hurting their business with, saying the things that they're saying. And something I've heard you say is find something really good to say and then say it often, right? So if you could speak to that, is what is something that's completely obvious that someone could gain from hearing today that has to do with finding revenue, and then if we could then also hit the messaging point.
Sure. Okay. So the idea of revenue really is what makes the messaging work? And just taking a step back, because we were talking about, tachlis and getting down to it, and what does all this bring us? And what's the fluff? The fluff is that when you're speaking about marketing and you're thinking about marketing, you get lost in millions of tactics and millions of things to do and millions of things that other people are doing and that competitors are doing. And it's very, very worthwhile to strip it down to the basics. And the basics are as follows. There are only 4 ways that a company could make money. And this is mind-blowing. It's humbling because Apple computers can only make money 4 ways. And the Greenberg could only make money 4 ways. And everything in between, there are only 4, I call them levers of revenue with which you can move the needle in your business and make more money. Those 4 levers are, you can either get more leads, in other words, hit more people than you previously were hitting. You could also boost your conversion rate. If until now you have been selling to 10 people out of 100 people that you've reached, well, how about 11 people? How about 12 people? Boost that conversion rate. You can sell more stuff, which means that, let's say leads remain the same, and let's say your conversion rate remains the same, but you start selling more products, or you develop more products in order to serve more people. That's certainly what Apple does generally. They're not necessarily looking for more leads, although they do put money into that. They create more products to sell more stuff, upsells, downsells. And finally, the 4th level is pricing, adjusting your pricing. If you raise your price $1, depending on your margins, you may find that your business literally doubles just by raising your prices $1. It depends what you're selling. You have to run the numbers. You have to understand where your money is coming from, where your gross profit is, where your net profit is, and where it's coming from, and which of these levers to adjust so that you can grow your business. Now, this really strips away a lot of the garbage that we're talking about, because you're not looking to make billboards, and you're not looking to make commercials, or you're not looking to do anything. Really, you want to know, what do I need to grow my company? Do I need more leads? Do I need higher prices? Do I need to sell more stuff? Usually a combination of the 4 is where the gold is, because they compound upon each other. If you get 10% more leads and you raise your prices 10%, your company is in a tremendously different position than it was before you did that. So you want to understand your numbers, you want to run them, and you want to look for the low-hanging fruit. You want to look for the lower risk, higher rewards opportunities in which you're getting more leads, you're getting more revenue ultimately. And the key to that is messaging. Just the example that marketers love to use this example, but I'm going to use it as well. Domino's Pizza, which was at one point, it was the 4th largest pizza store in the nation, and they wanted to become the first largest pizza chain. So they rolled out a business model that was based upon, we'll bring hot pizza to your door in 30 minutes or less, or you don't pay. Now, people call this a marketing campaign. It was far, far more than a marketing campaign. It was an entire business model. You have to make sure that you have the rides lined up for the pizza. You have to make sure that that your kitchens are running on schedule so that you're getting those pizzas to the door. You have to make sure that you're serving the right demographic. They targeted specifically college campuses where you have hungry college students that don't really care about the taste of the pizza. They're studying late at night for an exam, and they want their pizza now. So ultimately, it was a message which defined a core company operation, a core company value, and then all those 4 levers were much easier to deal with. Now, I don't know if they raised their prices; they probably did, but we can just imagine how getting more leads was a non-issue, right? Whereas they might have had board meetings in years past of, should we advertise on city buses or radio ads or TV ads or whatever, or all of the above. That became much less important once you have a incredible message of, we'll bring hot pizza to your door in 30 minutes or less, or you don't pay. When somebody needs that, then they're going to buy. And the medium upon which the marketing message was delivered is much less important. So that takes care of leads. Conversions obviously are going to be much higher, so you get higher ROI on your campaigns. People knew better what to expect from Domino's. If you're looking for fast food, literally half hour or less, or you don't pay, then you're not going to expect all the gourmet options that possibly competitors were offering. You would be expecting quicker options. And if it's obvious that I don't know, some sort of snack or some sort of some sort of drink would go along with this fast food, that would be a much easier sell. The customer might even imply that, oh, if they're giving me this, then they'll probably give me this. So that increases stuff sold as well. So that just demonstrates how the taskless, the money is made by operating and moving forward on these four levers. And what drives it, the fuel in the engine, is your message. When your value is concrete and understood by you and understood by your market, then you are in a very powerful position to move these four levers and to get the revenue that you're looking for.
That's such an incredibly clear breakdown. It's any business owner could easily review what you just said, and that was perfectly understandable even to an 18-year-old who's trying to kick off their business. The fact that there's only 4 ways to drive your business and only 4 ways to make more money, and knowing that it's all fueled and it all comes from a place of strong messaging, and really giving the time and the care to developing that message is one of the biggest takeaways for me. And knowing you and rubbing shoulders with you has definitely improved my own company's messaging. My next question has to do with very current events for you. Is your newest venture is doubling your business with networking. If you could break that down for us and let us know exactly what you're up to, what that means, and what people should be reaching out to today.
Sure. So the idea is how to double, and that's the domain which you're planning on putting up a website very soon, howtodouble.com. But how to double specifically through networking. And the idea over here is that many businesses find themselves at a point where they feel that the business could be bigger, they know it could be bigger, and the question is just how to get there. Very often these businesses have been built organically through word of mouth, that people were happy with their services, they referred others. And usually there's 1 or 2 tracks that businesses take. They'll either hire a salesperson or a sales team, or they'll hire a marketing agency to do marketing for us and make us money. And very often that's a danger zone, and that fails. Now, the reason that fails is because, as far as a salesperson is concerned, these companies don't have a sales process documented and put in place. And they hire people that seem good at sales, which may or may not be true. Are they good at strategy? Can they figure out what the best way to get those sales are? Almost always never. So they do something that they never do in any other department. They hire somebody without a strategy to present them with and say, here, do this, and we found this to be successful. You do it, make it your own, and be more successful than we've been. With sales, very often it doesn't work that way. They just hire somebody who seems friendly, likes to hang out with people, and say, here, make sales. I've seen many, many disasters. I've spoken to businesses that have done that. I've spoken to salespeople that have been hired. Very, very, very rare success cases in those areas. As far as marketing agency, also it's hit and miss. Sometimes you have a product and you have the market, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it just doesn't. And I'm sure you've heard grumbling, and many of us have heard grumbling. Marketing doesn't work. And very often it's true. Marketing doesn't work, again, because the strategy and first of all, the testing phase hasn't yet been done. Marketing always takes testing. But even before the testing phase, what's the strategy? What exactly are you testing? And how will you know when to stop that? Those things haven't been worked out, and very often it results in failure. Now, the little secret is that often companies don't need a marketing strategy yet, and they even don't need a sales strategy yet. They just have to up their current game, and they can double. They can double sometimes within a year, sometimes within 6 months. All they need is a networking strategy, which I guess you could consider it as the precursor to a greater sales strategy, the precursor to a greater marketing strategy. Networking strategy is your first step outside of your own bubble to be proactive. Until now, business has been coming in organically. People are happy with you, so they referred you. Now you are going to go out and try to sell yourself. Who are you? You're the business owner. You're the one that has been in charge of everything else until now. You're going to be in charge of this now also, because what you're going to do is you're going to see what works for your company when you're being proactive, which has never happened before. You've never marketed yourself proactively. You've never sold proactively. You're going to go do it now by yourself. It's not going to be something which is just a burden on you, because you will be cashing in on it. Again, the goal is to double, but through doubling through using your current relationships, techniques to grow your relationships so that you have a larger network who can refer you and to sell you. And we're going to use those 4 levers. We're going to use the 4 levers of more leads, more conversions, high conversion rate, more sales, and more pricing to make sure that you get the most out of your newfound networking strategies. So you don't need the risk of hiring a salesperson yet. You don't need the risk of hiring a marketing agency yet. Learn to sell. Learn to sell yourself and learn to be proactive in getting those leads and selling to those leads.
I love that because it's really easy for me to understand what I'm going to be gaining, but yet there's quite a lot there. So being able to, as a business owner, know that my sales process, my marketing as a whole, the entire strategy of it, knowing that I already have what it takes to make such a statement that I'm going to double my business and establish such a goal is so, first of all, like so much hope, knowing that I already have the network and I already have the ability to expand upon that. I just need to be shown how, is so realistic and practical and just real, as a lot of business owners, I'm sure, are really frustrated with either being perfect at being a business owner but not being so much of a salesman like you described, not being able to naturally market their products. They're really good at developing those products. Sounds like that type of person would probably be the perfect person to speak to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Amazing. We have what you offer, we have your ideal client, and who would be the best to speak with you, and we've narrowed that down all in this conversation. I love that. My last question has to do with your journey on as a whole. One thing that I've noticed from watching your journey over about the last year is that you are not afraid to maneuver and adjust, and you're constantly seeking to improve. Someone like you would be the perfect person for people to hear. Looking back on your journey, what has been a major learning takeaway from your journey so far?
Yeah, so my fallback would be really the step which led me away from being a paid employee and doing my own thing. This was an incredible discovery for me, which was the idea that people are built differently, and you have to acknowledge how you're built and what you're going to be good at naturally, and what you might be good at. You might be good at it, but it's unnatural and therefore draining. I was at my last stint, so I was an employee at a company, and it wasn't working. And I scheduled a call. I scheduled an appointment with a career coach, Shane Karen. And the purpose of that appointment, I sat down at her table and I said, I want you to work with me and find a job where I could be a good employee. That's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to be a good employee. And I had seen that in my previous jobs, although I tried, showing up and being as good as I could, it didn't work out. And I wanted the next endeavor to work out. And she asked me a few questions, and I think this was even before the MBTI test. And she told me that you can't be an employee. You can't do it. You could do anything you want, but it'll drain you. And ultimately, we have things that give us energy, that energize us, and we have things that drain our energy. And you can force yourself to do something and be good at something that drains your energy, but it's not going to last. It's going to be burnout. It's going to be pushback. And the best thing you could do for yourself is to lean into the things that actually give you energy. And for me, it was quite apparent that giving me energy was really being in the director's seat, as opposed to being in the seat of somebody taking orders and carrying out things which didn't necessarily jibe with what made sense to me. So that would really be the main message I would tell anybody, that the very first thing they have to know, whether at the beginning of their journey, they're ending their journey, is you have to be in touch with what energizes you. Because, again, you can master something that doesn't energize you, but you probably will not get over the fact that it doesn't energize you. And when it doesn't energize you, there are going to be consequences, and they'll pop up. You would much rather lean into something that you energize, enjoy, whatever word you want to use, but be in sync with yourself and try to follow that as best as you can.
Absolutely. You so delivered on that question. It literally, anyone can take that home. What I love about that is that it speaks to literally everyone. So whether you're introverted, extroverted, outgoing, with like more of a mechanical sort of mind, or more creative, sort of mind, this speaks to everyone, is know thyself. And expecting yourself to excel in a space where you're draining yourself just to do the task is an unfair ask of yourself. And why would you set yourself up for a task that takes hours of your day? Like most people working in their 9 to 5, you're spending hours a day. I hope what you're doing is filling you in some sort of way, and not just like you know that you're going into your day with it. Automatically you're going to be drained. So that is a huge lesson that anyone can take away. After watching this, you can either reach out to Shane and Karen specifically, or there's other amazing career coaches that can help you discover this, or you can maybe do it on your own. Ask family and friends. What qualities, what skills do you think I should try to bring to the table? That's such a good, powerful lesson. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So we're thinking like 5 to 7, and yeah, in like the half an hour zone.
Okay. You know that you do videos. What does that mean? What do you do?
What I do as far as videos, and this is actually a really common question that needs clarification. This is going to be good for like people in my life, so that now they're going to know after this video exactly what I do. Sometimes I'll get a call and people ask me, I need a video for my business where we're going to mix in some testimonials. Maybe it'll be us talking about the business. So it needs to be in our office. That's something you do? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. So in short, we help businesses better communicate what they do to the world so that they can have that act as a jet fuel for their business and really carry them to their goals. What we believe that the vehicle that carries you to your goals could be an old jalopy, or it could be a Maserati, Ferrari. The more time that you put into the initial strategy, the better the results are going to be, and the more likely you are to actually achieve your goals. So we help businesses establish strategies that will help them better produce videos and do it more confidently, so that at the end of the day, not only do they look and sound good in their videos and it's powerful and it conveys confidence, but it also ends up achieving the goals that they set out to achieve when they invested in those videos.
Got it. So right there are really two different things that we're talking about. This, first of all, videos, and I'm sure, and I've seen your work, so you're highly trained and you're highly skilled in getting the right shot and whatever it takes to operate video equipment. And then there's the business strategy aspect, which, as you said, the businesses want to invest in the best tools to get out there and put themselves forward. So can you tell us a little bit about your background in both of these? Like, first of all, your skill set as a videographer, somebody who's getting the perfect shot, and then how that developed into a business strategy where you're some sort of a consultant, really helping businesses do what they need to do, even though they may not even appreciate what they're supposed to be doing. They don't even know what goes into the video
Right.
that they're looking to do. So you're going to be introducing them to that. How did that develop in yourself?
Absolutely. So starting off with the camera side of what we do is I actually gained my competence and confidence through years of filming happy events, specifically weddings. What's so powerful about coming off of a wedding videographer is that it really gives you a very thorough background in every single area of making videos. So let's go through it. You are working with a bride and groom and getting amazing shots of them. Typically at the beginning of the day when they're putting on their makeup and they're getting dressed, you're working with them one-on-one at very close quarters, so you learn how to deal with a client. They're typically not calm, right? Ideally, they're having an amazing day, but people are typically very nervous on their wedding days, so your client is someone that needs you to be that calm presence, that confident person who's going to step in and not be an additional pressure and stress, but someone who's going to just make the experience as easy as possible for them and take into account what they're going through on their day and be able to work with them on that. So that's one, is you become a portrait, you're expert at capturing portrait video with a client who's nervous. Then what they do is they give you their rings and their cologne, any added little details, maybe even the heels, or what I've seen very often is if she's going to dance in sneakers, you'll show that. And all those, they call them the detail shots. So now you're moving into, now you need to use macro lenses to capture rings, and now you are a product videographer and you're learning how to capture inanimate objects in a beautiful way. And you move from portraits to products, and then the event begins. And bedecken happens. The groom needs to come and put the veil, and now you become a documentarian. And now it's your job to capture things as they flow. You cannot be a cinematographer here, because a cinematographer means that you're being very purposeful and you're purposefully lighting and you're telling the actors where to be and when and where to look. In this case, as soon as the wedding starts, you're not telling anyone where to be at all. You're capturing it as it is. Now you're able to capture documentaries. And throughout, you are maintaining quality audio, quality lighting. Many times you're running multiple cameras, and you're not just running multiple cameras with multiple operators. Most of the time, you're running it for 10 hours straight. So wedding days start, and it's a continuous process. So that's where I developed my very strong skill set with cameras, is in the wedding world, because it is tough, it is unforgiving, it is demanding. You need to do it for hours straight, and it just hits every single point. Any area that you would want to grow in videography, weddings will challenge you in, and that's where I developed my skills as a videographer, as a video producer.
Okay, that's fascinating. How many years is that? How many years would you say you were in the wedding world?
I was in the wedding and bar mitzvah world for about 4.5 to 5 years.
Nice. Okay. And then I guess that brings us to the second very different aspect, which is business and business videography.
Absolutely. So when it comes to developing strategies for business, I don't make any huge claims. I don't claim to be Simon Sinek or that sort of character and role. Is when I help businesses create strategies for their videos, I very much am focused on videos that are going to be profitable for their business, and that's it. That's the extent of my expertise. I will never claim to be a marketer. I don't want to help businesses with their marketing, so I want to help them achieve their marketing goals using video. And that is something that I'm very confident in. That's something that I offer. So when I interact with businesses that have not established yet what pain points are they solving for their clients, I definitely ask them those questions. I'm asking them marketing questions. I'm asking them, who is your ideal client? And if they don't know yet, I help them establish that. So we're definitely hitting that point in that area. At the end of the day, my entire goal is to help them reach their audience as far as video. So when it comes to helping businesses, I initially see it from a lens of using my college background. On a rudimentary level, I use my training that I got in college just to answer and ask basic questions. Like the marketing 101 and 102 courses that I took helped me just ask business owners the plain and simple questions that they have not yet asked themselves and that no one has yet bothered to ask them. Like, for example, who is your ideal client, and narrow down what the pain points that they're solving for their businesses. From that perspective, is all helps me answer the question of how do we make you the best videos possible. So I'm not specifically a marketer. I'm a video producer who wants to use strong marketing ideals and values to bring you to your goals.
Got it.
Yeah.
Can you describe a typical business that would need your services? And what is the business doing that they're at this perfect spot that they'll reach out and say, Mendy, I need you? What's going on in that business right now?
I'm going to use an example of a business that I literally just spoke to a couple of days ago. Someone gave me a call. He makes these beautiful waterfalls and structures and koi ponds in people's backyard. His cheapest product is about $6,000, and then it goes all the way up to like $50,000, $60,000, where people can walk into their own Zen garden in their own backyard. And on his website is pictures from the contractor that he hires to build them. He took pictures off of their website, and the videos that he has are they're clearly just edited walk around photos, videos on his phone. And he's offering this very expensive product, and he's actually selling a couple. So he has some really good examples of what it looks like as a finished product. And then when you go to his website, it's just instantly you realize that the photos on his website have someone else's logo on them, and the videos are just not, they don't communicate anything about the stellar experience that he brings, and the fact that people are leaving the stresses of life and they can escape that in their own backyard is just not communicated on his website. So I immediately asked him, like, are you okay with taking that approach of trying to find like the pain point, being the stresses of life, and then moving into the Zen that you offer? When I see on his website, seeing like, we can offer really nice Zen gardens. And I was like, dude, I'm not being sold by that. Are you open to increasing your message and just like developing that? And he said, absolutely, yes, I need help with that. So what we would do for a business like that is give them 3 to 5 hours at each one of their jobs. So every time he's going down to a site to build, maintain, talk to a client, we would be there with him and give him a filming session and maximize that. So we would get as many videos, beautiful videos of his actual product, a behind the scenes video of him installing the product / talking to the client / them going, oh my gosh, wow, this is actually even better than I ever even imagined, and giving that testimonial and just fleshing out exactly what do we have an opportunity to film here at this job site, and how do we max out the potential of this job, and how can I make you as many videos as possible that each one is going to be engaging and profitable for you, and you can walk away with a ton of content for your business from just attacking one day at a time. So one job at a time. We come down to each job and max out the potential of the filming opportunity for you.
So that's an incredible example. I'll just say that, well, first of all, he has videos, but they're terrible. Secondly, the business is it can be very visual. He installs something which should be able to be captured visually, and that alone would be the draw. And I could definitely see the reason for needing good video for that. Now, what about a business that is not necessarily so visual? Like, for what comes to mind is possibly plumbing, but even less than that, let's say an accounting business, a bookkeeping business, something which is just, the layman would just consider it paper pushing. Does that display well on video as well?
Absolutely. And I think the way to address filming a business that may seem like it just falls back into the crowd, like a lawyer, an accountant, a plumber, where it's just another one of those, is the way to address that and to make it interesting is to tell the story of the people and have them, kind of like what we're doing now, is have them being interviewed and really go into what you never thought of. There's definitely things, especially if they're good at what they do, that they cook into their process, that they've given tremendous thought towards, that we, as your typical person, would never have ever thought of. And to have a marketing piece where they're describing those little details and based on their experience, how far they go for their customers, how far they go for their clients, when people are looking for their next plumber, accountant, lawyer, they come across a website that has exactly that, the people and their faces telling their story and what they bring to the table based on their experience. That's a win. That's just straight off the bat. They're way more likely to convert clients if they have that video up on their website. What we do then is to not just have that one video. We break down your process so that you have multiple of those videos. Everything that a client would ever need to hear from you in order to purchase from you should be said to them before they ever leave your website, and you do not have to say it directly to them one-on-one. That is our goal for each and every business, which can absolutely be achieved for the plumber, for the lawyer, for the accountant.
Wow. So I guess that's the old adage that people do business with people, not with businesses. But ultimately, every business, every time someone's going to buy from Tom's Plumbing or whatever it is, they're not really buying the plumbing. They're buying Tom. And what you're aiming to do is to sell people on Tom and who he is and what he's doing. Let's say I'd be looking into doing video, and I'm looking through your portfolio, and I'm looking through other videographer portfolios. What are 3 things that I should be looking for? What am I looking for when deciding whether I'm going to use Mendy Green or somebody else?
Absolutely. I think the first thing that anyone could do when they're looking for a videographer and trying to establish whether they're the right choice for their business is by looking at their work. if a video producer doesn't have a body of work that you can look at or a portfolio, I would just, they're not in the running. Unless what you're looking for is like your nephew with his like point and shoot camera. If you're looking for a video producer who's going to help you establish what you need to be working on and then move you through the process confidently, then you need to look at their work and establish, are they even capable of what we're looking for? It is absolutely, the burden is on the client who's paying and like swiping their card. The burden is on them to establish whether or not they even like the style of the creator. So to bring on a creator and then have them make work and then look at it afterwards and be like, this is not the style that we want. That's not okay to do it to a creator, because if that work reflects, that's their style. Why'd you bring on that creator with that style and you didn't even look at their work? Why'd you spend thousands of dollars without looking at their work? So that's the number one thing. Look at their work and make sure that you like their style. Make sure that creatively do you connect is the first question.
Okay.
The second thing I would look for in a quality video producer is, are they good communicators? Because they really need to be able to ask all the right questions to be able to establish what you're looking for, and then confidently guide you through the process, which demands expert communication. If they're not properly relaying what you need to hear and asking for the information that they need, that is a guaranteed headache. Yeah, you're moving into a process that's automatically just going to be very, very difficult. The video production process demands very thorough communication on both ends, and if immediately you're picking up that this video producer is not the best communicator, that's a red flag, and that's the sign that you need to move on to your next choice. The third thing I would look for in a video producer is, do they ask questions? If they don't ask you questions straight off the bat, then things come up along the way, and these things typically increase budgets, and they demand, there's financial implications to not asking the right questions and then needing to figure stuff out at the end. For example, if the video producer doesn't ask you what type of video you're looking for and sets up for a different type of set that you were looking for, and you need it to come down again, to give you a very real example of how not planning and asking the right questions can cost a client more money down the line, is back in the beginning, very early parts of my career, I had a client insist that they wanted to wing a course. So they were going to talk to a camera and completely just wing their entire thing. And I allowed them to do it. I didn't insist that they write down what they wanted to say and then have it up on a teleprompter, at least as a prompt, so that they don't forget what they wanted to say. And at the end of the shoot, we collapsed everything. We had rented a studio, and the client got home, looked up over and realized, wow, I forgot a very important detail that I needed to say in my course. And then hired us to come down, set up the cameras and lights and everything again, exactly how we had done it the first time. And that cost them. So there's two lessons there. Number one, we insist on scripts. We will not work with clients that insist on winging their content. The other lesson there, had we not asked for and insisted on the scripts, we could have like really helped her forgo all that extra cost. And knowing to ask the right questions saves our clients tremendously in the long run.
Wow. Okay, so just to recap, and I've been listening. So the three things to look out for are primarily creative style. Make sure that you jibe with the videographer's creative style. The second is communication. Make sure the communication is clear, smooth, will be easy, and will be kept up throughout the project. And number three is questions. Make sure that there are many questions asked at the beginning, because that's amazing that that there are financial implications if the right questions aren't asked early on. That's incredible. So we've been covering a lot about the professional angle and the business angle of your business. Let's talk for a bit about the personal angle. And I'm going to ask a very broad question, which is that we have this great company over here, and I'm sure that these three things that people are supposed to look out for. So you shine in these three areas, whether it's creativity or whether it is communication questions. Where's Mendy Green in all of this? And you can take that question to mean however you want, because what we really want is how you're going to answer that.
So I would break down my experience into thirds. About a third of the time, I am doing great. I'm on top of the world. I'm delivering an amazing product, and I'm feeling great about it. and I'm conquering, just king of everything. And then about a third of the time, I'm doing okay. I'm moving forward. I'm doing the tasks that I need to do. I am consistent and proficient, and I'm doing my thing. And it's not like top of the world. There's no major like horns in the background, theme songs going on behind me, but it's okay. I'm doing good. And then a third of the time, I'm wondering, like, am I doing the right thing? Do I have what it takes? Am I actually delivering what I'm saying I'm delivering? And kind of like sometimes the self-doubt will seep in. And I've been able to look at my experience and realize that they're all normal. It's a very normal human experience to have while going through building a business, especially being 26, and this is my first business, going off on my own, doing my own thing, and it's very new and exciting. What I've taken away from that is sometimes I'm feeling up and we're doing great and it's exciting and awesome, and knowing that I kind of have those ups and downs is, first of all, I don't judge myself when it happens, because it's bound to happen. I'm not always going to have amazing, great days. And then my takeaway from that is the same way in a relationship, if you are consistently loving, kind, and supportive, then when an argument comes up, the argument's not going to be nearly as bad if that person was kind, loving, gave you a hug this morning, said, have a great day, as opposed to you haven't received any affection, support, or kindness from this person in forever. And being consistently kind and affectionate and loving in a relationship makes those dips, those arguments that are bound to happen, much less of a dip. So instead of going down here and having this huge fight, you're up here, it was a dip. It was a bump in the road. Is the same way that I've been recently taking on the challenge of being confident as a business owner, is if I consistently am doing things that are difficult, and when I say things, I follow up on them, then those dips in my confidence they're not nearly as drastic. And when those days come along, I have a lot to stand back on, which is I do difficult things all the time, specifically in the area of video. I'm challenging myself, pushing myself forward, and doing very difficult things. And that gives me the ability to have an overall experience of, most of the time I'm very confident, most of the time I'm moving forward, I'm progressing in my business, and I'm helping and guiding people. And that's where Mendy Green is, in the middle of being a video producer and that whole world.
Excellent. What's the long-term plan? Where's Emerald Media going in the next 10 years, 15 years?
My overall plan for Emerald Media is very much in line with where the world is going and where content and social media and interacting with an audience is going. So currently, the way that the industry is moving is that having pretty pictures and pretty images is not enough. For example, a fashion brand that has like models and really pretty, perfect, curated photos up on their website and on their social media is not doing nearly as well as the business that has a model who's talking to the camera and going like, here's a scarf. Let's see how many outfits I can mix this up with. Or going out into environments where you have no idea what people are going to say. Let's see how this and this goes. Those brands are blowing up and they're doing so well. It's not this perfect, curated, like really pretty images. It's creative content that had thought that went into it. So knowing that the industry is going that way, I want to create a studio. So the long-term plan is very much for Emerald Media to have Emerald Studios where customers can come down and create that sort of content. So we'll have backdrops and a podcasting room and living room, sort of lounge area where people can hang out in between shoots, a makeup room where people can get ready, a dressing room, and a studio that's going to essentially be a big warehouse completely dedicated to creating content.
Wow. That's an amazing plan.
That's the goal.
And I'm like trying to picture it over here.
just to give you like a visual image, we're talking about a warehouse where the walls are painted black, and I'm picturing like a gaming console in one room with like a full fridge of Red Bull, and an editor's room in the back, and a podcasting room that's completely soundproof, and like lots of neon lights and fixed studio equipment. So the lighting will be like attached to the ceiling, and everything will be set up so that literally whenever you want to film, you sit down, and there's someone behind a glass that hits record, and boom, you're,
Wow.
there's no setup required. That's just to give you a picture of the dream studio. That's it.
Amazing. Amazing. Any questions you would want to be asked today?
That was a good question the other day, right? I think we definitely hit the points of what do I spend my day doing? What is my experience like? What do I bring to the table? I think we hit all the points. Is there anything I could just take the opportunity to share? I am so glad that I reached out to you on that link on LinkedIn and asked you, hey, you have this biz schmooze coming up, this event that you're doing. Do you want to film it? Or I don't think I was that straightforward, right? I could have been more straightforward was the takeaway, but I wasn't. And I asked you, there was so much room for improvement on that message that the next day when I bumped into you at the networking event, you took the time and told me, hey, are you open to me telling you how you could have improved on that message? And I, like, in the moment, I remember thinking, like, as you started talking, I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And it just started, as you were talking, it just started clicking into place of, he's right. My entire approach so far has been just finding businesses that I think I could possibly make videos for, and cold approaching them on LinkedIn and being like, hey, I want to make you videos. And it was just really not working for me. And I was getting no reaction, and my business was not growing. And then since that conversation where you patiently explained to me there's another approach, I've been, first of all, after that, to come to a couple of biz schmoozes, and I've been following your content, and I've been learning a ton. Since, I've only been approaching and trying to do business with people who already want to do business with me, and who have been referred to me, and who have seen my work and reached out to me. And whether that's asking my network for referrals and getting these warm leads and finding other sources of people to do business with, took me from a place of being like lost and frustrated, and brought me into a place where when I sit down at my desk every day, I know what I'm doing. It's pretty clear cut of what tasks are ahead of me in order to actually grow my business. I have you to thank for that, because you took that time when you really, you didn't need to, and you really, really helped me out. So thank you so much for that.
Amazing, my pleasure. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
It's good to know.
When I think about why am I moving forward, hopefully, it's very much comes from our conversation.
Amazing. Okay, that's cool. That's very good.
That was my last point. This is definitely like something different I'm doing, right? I'm filming these sort of interviews, and it comes up, the idea behind it is that when someone's asking you questions, and it kind of like coming from a curious place about you, it opens up the door to share, and those like little nuggets, like gold nuggets, come out, and things that you might not have planned to say that your audience really wants to hear come out in these sort of conversations. And I'm learning that in my career, and in doing this, I'm practicing not only the ability to capture this sort of evergreen content, but also interview people remotely, which is a whole nother space that I really want to explore in my business. Is there are definitely people who want to interview other people who just need a videographer to go down and interview for them. And I want that to become like a focus of ours and something that we're busy with.
Very cool. Very cool.
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the